The Paris Olympics held in 2024 was the most watched ever, with 13 times more engagement on social media handles and a 25% rise in the amount of coverage when compared to the Tokyo Games in 2021. The Games in France cost the government a little less than a third of what it cost Japan to host the Olympics. France's national auditing body's report shows that although the government's expenditure is higher than expected, it is far lower than previous games. The International Olympics Committee report also shows that revenue from the sale of media rights hit a record high of $3.2 billion. Viacom18 bid $31 million for the rights to broadcast in the Indian subcontinent, saw its advertising revenue double. India is aiming to host the 2036 Olympics in Ahmedabad. What does the future hold for broadcasting the Olympics? Joining me now is Anne-Sophie Voumard, Managing Director, Television and Marketing Services at the International Olympic Association. Anne-Sophie, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Let's get the big news out of the way, the launch of the tender for rights here in the subcontinent. What's going to be different this time around? Last time, Viacom18 won the bids, and of course, full disclosure here, they are part of the same group that we operate under. So to start with, what's going to be different with the bids this time around, and how much more exciting will the bidding process be, considering that you have cricket as part of the LA28 program?
Thank you. First, thank you, Shereen, for having me with you today. First, I'd like to rebound on the great things that you reminded us about regarding Paris 2024. I mean, this only brings, very, very good memories, because we're just coming out of the Paris 2024 games, which were a huge success for everyone. I mean, you mentioned a couple of stats, but I just want to remind everybody about the unprecedented and record audience that the Paris Games actually generated. I mean, just to simply think about, the world's population, 84% of the potential audience actually followed the games during that period of time. This actually amounts to almost 5 billion people that have been following the game. So this is staggering numbers. We're very, very happy about that, and it's great to remind ourselves of that great success. I mean, we live in a digital age, and of course, that success was also very, very clearly visible in terms of digital engagement, where we had 412 billion engagement record numbers, also just simply on digital. So amazing things to remind ourselves about. So you mentioned the media rights and the media rights tender. Of course, this is a very important milestone for us for a number of reasons. First, you're talking about a very an important milestone, or almost we're at a crossroads, or a paradigm shift is about to happen, because on the one hand, you have India as the fastest growing economy, also the largest, one of the largest world's population, and if you talk about also the neighboring countries within which this media tender will take place, this is probably the world's largest population that we're talking about. But not only a large population, but a very, very young population, very sports savvy population, very digitally engaged population, and a population that of young people that like to consume sports. So on the one hand, you have that context that we're in, and on the other hand, we just talked about the Olympic Games, and the Olympic Games is by far the largest multi-sport event in the world. And if you imagine those two things colliding together, and you add another layer, which is, hey, we're bringing into the sports program, after more a century of absence, the sport that the Indian population cherishes the most, cricket. I think we're really, really here in a place where this is a game changer for India, but it's also a game changer for the Olympic movement. So this is a win-win situation. And whoever is going to be the partner that will be our partner for the future will create history. Will create history not only in India but also across the world, and in particular because if you look at what this is gonna mean. Bringing cricket back into the Olympic sports program basically creates a new cricket competition. So whoever is going to be the winner of that bid will be bringing to the Indian fans for the first time ever cricket back into the game. So that's a historical moment. But it's also something very special because the games will not be just about cricket. But we believe that also whoever is going to be the media rights holder will also become the catalyst for growth of other Olympic sports around India, and hopefully inspire young girls and boys in across India to maybe take upon a more active lifestyle and embrace new sports that they may not have known existed before.
Well, Anne-Sophie, you've used many words there. You've called it a paradigm shift. You believe that the induction of cricket into the LA program is going to be a game changer, and it's potentially going to be a game changer in terms of driving audience engagement, viewership, and perhaps media rights will factor all of that in as they bid. But, if you could lay out for us what's going to be different this time around as far as the tender itself is concerned, in terms of what is on the table that the IOC is offering for potential bidders.
So we will be opening the tender on the 3rd of July, and the tender will be open for until 13th of August. And it's an open and transparent tender. Of course, we're opening to any interested party in India, and the scope, the territorial scope, includes 7 territories. So you have India, of course, but we also have Bangladesh, we have Bhutan, we have Maldives, we have Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. So this is a wider scope than just India. So it's India really and the subcontinent. We will be opening the tender for a minimum of 1 Olympiad, and an Olympiad is, in our jargon, a cycle of 4 years, and those 4 years will include 1 Olympic winter game and 1 summer game. So 2026 in Milano Cortina taking place next year in February, but also the games of LA 2028 in a couple of years' times. Couple of things that are important for us is how are we going to determine who is the best partner for us, and from that standpoint, there are, I would say, qualitative criteria, but of course quantitative criteria. The qualitative criteria really are the most important to us, which is how can we make sure that we maximize the reach of the Olympic Games across India. So it's reach, it's engagement, it's across the different population in terms of year, gender. We're probably the event that is, I would say, the most balanced in terms of gender, not only participation, because you remember in Paris, it was the first time we had 50-50 parity between men and women participating into the games. But also we want to find a partner that supports the promotion of the Olympic values. Very, very important to us that those values are being promoted not only during games time. So we're not looking for a partner that only will work for us during games time, but we also want to look for a partner that wants to work with us, before the games, during the games, but also after the games. And of course, on the more quantitative side, this paradigm shift that I described above, the expectation, of course, will be that the market will respond, and we expect, of course, an increase in the media rights value that is in line with the Indian market robustness and the vibrancy today.
So you preempted my question, Anne-Sophie. What is the expectation in light of what you've seen with Paris 2024 and the numbers that we've just talked about, with the many milestones, the records that were achieved with Paris 2024, now with the inclusion of cricket? What's the expectation in terms of what the media rights value could possibly be? And also, has there been any conversation with Viacom 18? Have they expressed any interest in possible renewal?
So, because of the vibrancy of, I think, the media market in India at the moment, we deliberately chose to open a formal, I would say, transparent tender where we're going to be inviting everyone, with the same conditions. So everyone will have the same time and under the same rules to actually bid. And of course, it will be a question, who is the best bidder that best responds to the criteria that I outlined earlier. In terms of value, we expect I cannot disclose, of course, any value that are confidential information, but the expectation that the amount will be a multiple of that amount.
A multiple of that amount. We're going to watch that process very closely. But Anne-Sophie, you talked about the vibrancy of the India market. You also believe that this is going to be a big commercial opportunity as far as the Olympic movement is concerned. And that's what I want to address with you, because I remember very distinctly when you were speaking in Paris, you said, and I quote, "We would love to welcome a first new top sponsor from India." And I'm sure there's going to be someone very, very soon. Anne-Sophie, where do things stand on being able to get your first top sponsor from India for the Olympics?
Shereen, so we're a global movement. We're the top program, which is our sponsorship program and partner program, is the most important values-based sponsorship program in the world. And we bring together all the, I would say, top leading companies in their industries. We have representations of, the largest economies, so the Americas. We have representation in Europe. We have representation in Asia. And it's only fair, I think, to think that with, I would say, the growth and the fastest growing economy that India is undergoing at the moment, we would very much like to welcome a company representing that vibrancy in the market in India. I've had several trips to India since the Paris Games. We're going into the market regularly. We want to learn. We want to understand the market. We want to understand how we could best respond to the needs of Indian companies. And we would absolutely love to welcome an Indian company to the top program very, very soon, because this will be the ultimate testament of the strength of the Indian market across the world.
But Anne-Sophie, can you give me a little bit more color on what those conversations have led to? I mean, do you have any clarity on whether an Indian partner is likely to come on board, in the next few months, or will it take longer than that? Because, when you made that comment, it was August of 2024, so we're almost close to a year since then. So are we any closer to a decision and actually getting someone on board?
We're working very hard at it, Shereen. So you'll surely be notified when is the perfect time to announce it.
Okay, well, we look forward to that. But again, for the benefit of our viewers who are watching, Anne-Sophie, what does it actually take to get a top partner on board? I mean, how much will they need to put on the table outside of course, the qualitative stuff that you spoke of? But let's talk about hard cash. How much do they need to bring to the table to be able to come on board as a top partner?
So the conversation that when we start the conversation, it's about, first we need to find an alignment of values. So that's the number one criteria that we really look into when we're looking at speaking with companies. And And, we're driven by our values, friendship, respect, excellence. So we want to make sure that we find a partner that really, really shares the same values. And that's the number one criteria that we use in order to do this. The second part is, how can this relationship, the building of that partnership help support the Olympic movement as a whole, but also the delivery of the games in particular, because you want to work with companies that actually can make an impact in what we do, whether it is, in the delivery of the games itself, whether it's around sustainability or gender parity or inclusion. We want to make sure that we work with a partner that shared exactly the same values. And of course, at some point, you look into, what are the industries that are important for us in this respect. And, there's a multiple number of things that we need. So I am not, closing or excluding anybody. It's really about finding the right match. And it always takes two to tango. So we're definitely in that period where we're speaking to various entities and understanding also what is important for them. Maybe it's also a question of educating a lot about what the Olympic movement does, how it can achieve the business objectives of companies. This is time that is well invested in making sure that we build a very strong relationship for the future.